Live from Atlanta, Georgia, from the Fox 5 studios, this is Good Day Atlanta.
Going out of business, it's more than a sign on a door, it's a sign of the times. Big national chains are closing down at an alarming rate, and more are on the horizon. Darlene Quinn is a retail expert and author, and she's offering her insights into what kind of impact it's all having on Atlanta and beyond. Darlene, good morning, and thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, let me bring to your attention a piece of news that just came out today itself. Belk, the big department store, the national department store, closing its location at North Point Mall today. The company confirmed this information. I mean, it's just the latest in a series of store closings we're seeing across the board. But you say that it's not actually just because of the recession that's going on right now, that the elements were put into place long before the recession.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, in the background of my book is the beginning of the takeover of department stores. I thought I wrote about the most greedy, predatory times in our history, which were the 80s. And if you remember that time, that's when the business of America became the taking over of businesses, the leverage buyouts. And what many of the retailers are facing today is a huge amount of debt.
Yeah, and where do they go from here? I mean, how do they stay competitive? Is this just a natural progression?
Well, actually, with this debt factor, before you could go into bankruptcy protection, as did Mervyn's, Linens and Things, Sharper Image. What they would do then was they would reorganize, get some fresh capital, and come out of bankruptcy. Those stores were unable to do so, as was Circuit City.
Yeah, I remember Linens and Things closing down around the metro area. I was very surprised to see that. What are some of the other stores that you say are kind of on the bubble? They're on the brink of closing down as well. What do we need to keep an eye out for?
Well, there's many individual stores, but one big chain that was a surprise to me, that it sort of takes this month, this quarter, whether the Gap will close their Old Navy stores.
Close the Old Navy stores altogether?
Yes.
Wow. Whenever I go to an Old Navy store, I see people in there. It seems like people are shopping. Why would that be happening?
Well, actually, they've got, the Gap has the Gap. They have Banana Republic. All retailers, well, you've been reading about it throughout, are having a tough time. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. As far as retail sales last month were very bad, but not catastrophic. And their losses were not as great as Wall Street predicted. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. You mentioned Belk's, which I imagine is the same as the Macy's stores. Macy's has shuttered 11 of their stores. However, they were the underperforming stores. And what I read about Belk's, that was an underperforming store and probably a good business decision.
Okay, and you just mentioned Macy's. Macy's announced in February of this year that they're closing their Atlanta headquarters. That means 850 jobs wiped out. What is the future of Macy's?
I think Macy's is you love it or you hate it. It depends on where you're from, what your association. If you think of Macy's and the Thanksgiving Day Parade, Miracle on 34th Street, you're in New York, you may love it. If you're Atlanta and you've lost Riches, or Chicago, which has lost Marshall Fields, they are not so fond of Macy's. Macy's is, as I say, I know the people, I worked with the people in Macy's. They tend to look for and hire the best people they can and allow them to do their jobs. Are they accomplishing their goals? Not at this point. Customer service is #1, and I know from the CEO on down, it's #1. But you go into a Macy's store, maybe you find what you want, and then you go searching for someone to ring up your sales.
Yeah, that happens a lot, I guess, at a lot of the department stores. So you have an optimistic outlook for the retail industry overall?
Yeah, look back in the past, retailers are resilient. They got through the Depression. They will come back. I think there will be a change. Right now, consumer confidence is an all-time low, and it's the high-low pricing. We don't know what to expect. It started in the 80s. That's when you started having the midnight sales, the early bird sales. Come in at 9 o'clock, you get an extra deal. Come in at 8 o'clock. I went in recently to Nordstrom's at 7 o'clock. And that's when one of my favorite things disappeared. and that was the after Christmas sale. It became a non-event.
Yeah, well, Darlene, I want to thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. Your name of your book is Webs of Power. You've got a book signing this weekend. I want to tell folks about that. Darlene will be in town throughout the weekend, speaking and signing copies of her new book, Webs of Power. Her first stop is tomorrow night, at the Borders on Roswell Road. You can get that plus the other information by visiting our website at myfoxatlanta.com. You'll see it listed on our Good Day page.